Branimal Farm presents.
Today we're going to talk all about choosing the perfect hay for your goats. Alright, so a lot of people say that goats can eat anything, but that's not necessarily true. Goats actually, while they might not be super picky eaters, they do have special requirements in their diet, and hay is one of their main dietary items. So you need to know exactly how to choose the perfect hay for your goats. For a little more in-depth information, you can check out the link below, but we're going to go through some of the main things here. First, it's important to know that there are actually many different types of hay. So you've got things like grass hay, and then you've got a whole slew of things under that like timothy, orchard grass. There's a ton of different grass hays. You have things like alfalfa and so on. It's important to get a high quality hay, not something like fescue. Fescue is basically what people typically have like in their backyard. It doesn't have a ton of nutrients in it, and it can actually cause problems if you're breeding your goats. So we usually recommend high quality grass hay, so something like I mentioned orchard grass, timothy, or if you have dairy goats or a production breed, you might want to try out some alfalfa, and that's what we have here. Alfalfa is a higher quality hay. It's high protein, so it's great, especially if you're doing things like milking. That takes a lot of energy, and your goats just need a little more nutrition in them. So once you decide what actual type of hay you want, you need to make sure that you get a good quality hay, and this isn't always super easy. So a lot of times you might find hay that has been stored outside or stored in a super dusty barn. Goats are not going to like either of those things. It is extremely important that you make sure that your hay has not been stored outside and that it has not gotten wet. The reason for this is that wet hay can get moldy, and does oftentimes get moldy, and mold is actually a very serious health issue for goats. It can cause listeriosis, which can actually kill them. So you want to make sure that you do not have moldy or wet hay that you're feeding your goats. The other thing you want to look for just for a good quality hay is that it isn't dusty. Now, we are talking about hay here. There is going to be some level of dust in your hay, but you don't want it to be just super dusty and old and dirty. That is not going to be a high quality hay that your goats need. A couple of other things to look for when you're picking out hay, specifically with your hay that you're looking at, is you want to make sure that it is nice and leafy and not super stemmy. So, got a little pinch of our hay here. And when I say stemmy, I'm talking about this. So this is a stem. And it's okay, of course, to have some stems in your hay, but not all hay is created equal, and sometimes you'll get a bale of hay that's just like this. It's old, it looks more like straw. There's not a lot of nutrition in this, and your goats, quite frankly, are probably going to pull it out and throw it on the ground. What you want to look for is leafy hay. So you can see the difference here. We've got actual leaves. You can tell without even touching it, it's just kind of lusher. It's not as brittle. There's a lot more nutrition to this. The goats like this more. They're going to actually eat it instead of pull it out, and they're going to get a lot more out of it. So those are some of the main tips for looking for the perfect hay for your goats, to make sure that they have high quality nutrition and they're getting everything they need. If you want to know a little bit more about what goats eat, check out our next video.